Okay, let's talk about something that, if you're a parent or a teacher, probably keeps you up at night: kids and smartphones. It's one of the biggest headaches of modern life, right? When's the right time? What are the rules? And how do you even begin to handle all the risks? So, we're going to cut through all the noise. What does the science actually say? And what are the real solutions people are trying right now?
So, first up, we're going to look at the pretty stark scientific alarms being raised about kids' mental health. Then, we'll dive into who the most vulnerable kids are and, more importantly, why. After that, we have to ask a tough question. Are some of these apps literally designed for danger? And finally, we'll get practical and explore the real-world solutions parents are using. Everything from family contracts and tech controls to, believe it or not, a return to good old-fashioned brick phones. Let's start with a number: 3.8 million. What is that? Well, according to new research from the mobile network EE, that's how many families in the UK with high school-aged kids are going to have the talk, or let's be honest, the argument, about smartphone rules this summer alone. So yeah, if this is a battle in your house, you are definitely not alone. And it's a huge point of friction. But what's really interesting here is that parents and kids actually agree on the solution. They both want clearer rules. The tricky part, of course, is figuring out what those rules should be. This quote from Connie Huke just nails the dilemma, doesn't it? It's this constant tug of war between giving your kid independence and protecting them from risk. We're handing them a key to the entire world, which is amazing, but what's really lurking on the other side of that screen? To figure that out, we have to look at the science. All right, Section 1, a mental health warning. You know, the alarms that scientists are raising are getting louder and a lot more specific. Okay, so take a look at this chart. It's from a huge global study. We're talking over 100,000 young people. And it shows a direct, and I mean direct, link between the age a kid gets their first smartphone and their mental well-being later on as a young adult. You can see it plain as day. The later a child gets a phone, the better their mental health score tends to be. The trend isn't just a little dip, it's a cliff edge, and it's deeply concerning. And listen, we are not just talking about feeling down here. The researchers pinpointed the specific symptoms most strongly connected to getting a smartphone before age 13. And this list, it is sobering. We're talking about suicidal thoughts, aggression, even a sense of detachment from reality. These are incredibly severe outcomes. Section 2, the most vulnerable pupils. Now, here's the thing. These negative impacts aren't felt equally across the board. A major study just uncovered a critical gap in perception, where some kids are way more vulnerable than their parents even realize. So researchers at UWE Bristol did this massive survey of students, parents, and teachers. And they found this really striking link. Kids who describe themselves as struggling in school are reporting far more negative online experiences, everything from seeing upsetting content to being bullied, than their classmates who feel like they're coasting or thriving. And this right here reveals one of the most critical findings of the whole study: a huge disconnect between what parents are worried about and what their kids are actually experiencing. See, parents tend to worry about social stuff, like their kid being left out or falling out with friends. But they are massively underestimating how often their kids are exposed to really severe harms, like self-harm content, illegal material, and being contacted by strangers. Okay, Section 3. Designed for danger? So if kids are stumbling into these dark corners of the internet, is it always an accident, or is it sometimes by design? Let's pop the hood and see how a platform's own system can lead users straight into trouble. The UK's communications regulator, Ofcom, is crystal clear on this. They say that algorithmic recommendations are the main way kids find harmful content. You see, these platforms aren't just libraries of videos, they're active systems. They're designed to learn what keeps you watching and then just feed you more and more of it, no matter what it is. So an investigation by Global Witness put this to the test. It's wild. They set up a brand new account for a 13-year-old on a totally clean phone. No search history, nothing. They even turned on TikTok's own restricted mode, which is supposed to filter out adult stuff. But then, all they did was click the search bar. They didn't even type anything, and the algorithm immediately suggested a list of sexualized search terms. From that point on, it was just a few clicks to hardcore pornography. So the conclusion from the investigation was, frankly, damning. The platform wasn't just failing to stop kids from seeing this material. Its algorithm was actively pushing a supposedly protected 13-year-old account towards it. And that seems to be a direct breach of new online safety laws. All right, Section 4, contracts, controls, and bricks. So after seeing the scale of the problem, the obvious question is, what on earth can we do about it?
Let's take a look at the landscape of real solutions being used by parents, companies, and even policymakers. The solutions really fall into a few key buckets, from the very personal to the political. You've got contractual approaches based on family agreements. There are technological tools that give parents direct control over the device. There's even a surprising low-tech movement making a comeback. And finally, you've got broader policy changes, really pushing for companies to be held accountable and for better digital education in schools. One of the big ideas is the contractual approach. EE, for example, launched a free PHONE contract. The idea is super simple. Parents and kids sit down together and actually agree on the rules, for everything from screen time to what to do if you see something weird online. It directly tackles that need for clear expectations we talked about at the beginning. Now, for parents who want more direct control, you've got the technological solutions. Google's Family Link is a good example. It lets parents manage their child's account, which gives you all this granular control. You can approve or block apps, set time limits, and even remotely lock the phone when it's dinner time. It's a real hands-on way to manage the device itself. Of course, there is another option. Just sidestep the whole problem. The dumb phone. A basic phone for calls and texts with no internet, no social media, and no addictive apps is actually making a comeback. For parents who are freaked out about algorithms and online content, this low-tech approach is basically a complete firewall. And there's some pretty compelling data to back up this simpler approach. A Chinese study reported in The Guardian found that high app usage didn't just hurt students' grades, it also lowered their future wages by over 2%. It's a powerful reminder that the cost of all this distraction can be very, very real and last a long time. When you boil it all down, it really comes back to this one fundamental question. It's not about a single app or one device. It's about a constant balancing act. Independence versus protection, trust versus control. And as this tech weaves itself deeper and deeper into our lives, finding that balance is really the defining challenge of modern parenting.